Hello, everyone, and welcome for our third session, live session that we're doing related to yeah test automation in gaming, related to AltTester and test automation in gaming. I'm Alex. I'm going to be the host of this event, and I have two invites. I think you might know Ru uh, from the other sessions that we had. And we also invited Kyril to join this session because he has been working in the mobile gaming test automation field for, I think it's almost 2 years now. Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the past, you've been doing automation outside of the gaming industry, which is, I think, is very interesting. So it's you're coming from outside of the gaming industry, and you joined your current employer as a QA automation engineer. So I'm going to let the two of you introduce a bit yourselves. I think Kirill, you're going to be the main character of the discussion today because Ru has been, you know, speaking about her experience with AltTester and automation in mobile. So all the questions and the focus is going to be on you. I'm sorry for that. So no pressure. Just so
No
you know.
pressure.
Yeah, just so you know. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kyril, and I work as a senior QA automation engineer at Tripledot Studios, where I've been building test automation infrastructure around our mobile games. So it's mostly Unity-based puzzle titles like Sudoku, Triple Tile, Blossom Match. So I've been in QA for about 8 years. I started as a manual tester, and then gradually, step by step, I moved into test automation. And as Alex mentioned, yeah, Tripledot was my first experience working in the game industry. And for me, it was kind of a childhood dream come true. So I've always loved games, and getting to work on them professionally just made sense. And at Tripledot, I'm part of a core automation team. We're a small group within QA department focused entirely on building frameworks, tool selection, mentoring team, all of this stuff.
Oh,
So
that's
basically,
interesting.
yeah, basically all around our projects. So we don't in our core department, we don't do automation specifically for concrete
Okay.
projects. Yeah, it's just infrastructure and all of the things.
Okay. So basically, if I understand correctly, then each project is responsible to be using your infrastructure and tools to automate their own stuff. But I assume they come to you with feedback questions, and if they are stuck or something, they will come to you, well, you and your team, your colleagues.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, our project, our automation framework is core based. So we have like a core framework, and each project use our framework as a dependency. So all the features that they need to be in a core part, we do. If some project, for instance, need for us to help them to automate something, so something complex, or just they need some additional hands to help, so we're ready for it.
Okay, that's interesting. Ru, would you like to share a few thoughts on, so if somebody doesn't know you,
Sure.
so they know why you're here?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Ru, and I am the CTO for AltTester. So I'm involved in the project, even actively in the software development. Usually, maybe not so much recently, but so all of my opinions will be biased. Obviously, you should trust Kirill and see when taking advice. But I'm also here because I, besides being like working with AltTester, I also work with some of our clients where I either help generally with game testing, or I help them with getting started with automation. Currently, I'm working on a mobile game as well, and we are not yet using automation, but we are in the process of starting that. As my experience, I think very similar to Kirill in a way. I also have been working in testing. Well, my age is uh, different. But so it's been a bit longer, but I have been doing automation outside of gaming for a very long time. And I think it's been about 7 years now since I started focusing on the gaming industry and automation in the gaming industry, mostly with Unity for myself as well. But now lately we've been also working with games that are developed in other engines.
Yeah.
That's me.
Okay. So yeah, thank you for sharing this. Both of you are coming to gaming from other industries. So Kirill, I'm curious to see your view on what you found in gaming coming from other industries, and how was it to start working on a framework that is used, if I understand correctly, on multiple projects within your organization.
hmm So, of course, the game development is different. It's not only because of tools. So, of course, the tools are different that you use for automation. But I believe the main difference in automation in testing in game development is the tempo. So, games are changing like rapidly. So today you have one feature, next day another one, and yesterday feature already is retired. So you always need to build your automation, your framework, all your testing process based on this fact that you can't just simply sit on one place and do one job for like years and years and years, because game don't live too long. They need to start really fast, really quick, make some profit, and maybe in few years like be retired. So yeah, basically I believe this is the main difference that I can feel, that the tempo is quite different. And the second one, as I already mentioned, is the tools, because as you guys know, yeah, it's not quite obvious what you need to do to start automation for games. So you can't just simply install Selenium and do what you used to. So yeah, the tool selection, the framework based on this tool should be different. It's also the obvious fact.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, this is where we exist basically on the market with this product, because we have the same pain that you're describing. How do you see reaction to automation in the gaming teams, versus in what I call traditional software development?
Mhm. I believe the test automation itself, in our company, it received the very positive feedback, and maybe it depends on the sort of games that we build, that we create. So our games, they are not like AAA products; they are hyper casual. So most game scenarios that we automate, that we test, they are they're simple, so you don't have like super complex scenarios, and because of that the test itself, they're not so complex as they might be in some like huge games. So basically because of that we can automate many things, and the because of that, yeah, accordingly the feedback on the automation itself, it's very positive in our company. Yeah, I believe so.
Was this already started when you joined the company, or is it something that you had to start from scratch?
hmm So when I joined company, we have like automation in a very first stages. So
Mm.
it was only like two or so devices, and probably was only one game. So yeah, we already have like pre-selected tools. So our team lead already worked for like half of the year in this position, and he already selected few tools that we need to start, and after that we built our core department and the process is started.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing this, offering a bit of context of where you are within your organization with automation and how it all started. Um, can you can you maybe share with us? You said some of the pain points already, like in terms of tooling, uh, changes in games. So you mentioned some of the pain points, which are common when testing games, especially hyper casual mobile games, because they change a lot. So it's a very fast. Or at least it's closer to traditional software in terms of release cycles. I think this is also why we have so many clients from this sector. But yeah, because they feel the pain. You need to release fast, so you need to have some kind of automation in place, because otherwise your release cycle, or your testing, you're killing your QAs basically. Is there something else that you remember in terms of pain point for setting everything up, or something that it stuck to you?
hmm Um, I believe the also one of the main like pain points is that automation is not a kind of silver bullet in the games, because games has so many aspects that cannot be just simply covered with test automation. It's some things related to animations, to sounds, to some haptic feedback. So all of these things, they needed to be tested like manually. So I believe sometimes test automation will be on the level that we also can verify these things like very accurate. But for now, yeah, of course, we have like a big regression pack that we can automate, but you also need to keep in mind when you wanted to start test automation for your game that you can't just cover everything. You can't just replace your manual testers with the automation and just make these things just work for you. So it doesn't work this way.
Did you have you been asked about, like, did you have discussions on, we're gonna fire all our QAs and you can automate?
No, not really.
No, okay,
For
that's
our company, test automation is a good help for the manual K team, but I believe we never have the this kind of conversation yet, this kind of idea to replace all of our manual tester guys to the automation.
okay. That's good. Okay, I think it's a healthier environment
It's
then.
a
Yeah,
relief, yeah.
yeah, it's a relief. Okay, okay, it's good to know. Okay. I wanna we have a few things that we prepared in advance that we want to talk about. But if anybody that's live on LinkedIn has any questions that they would like to ask, or they want to discuss any topic related to testing mobile games, feel free to add those in the comments. I'll add some captions to if you to help you a bit to think about the subjects, but it can be anything outside of the captions that you see in the live stream. Yeah. Um, how you said that the current framework is really helping your QA team. So from this, I understand that like everybody in the QA team is actually using it. So you don't have designated automation engineers in every project, but you have a team that's building tools, but then every project QA should use your tools. So maybe you can describe a bit your tools and how that
Sure.
works for them.
So in our QA team, we have some testers that know automation, and these guys, they are actually writing tests. So when we
So,
have all,
sorry,
Mhm.
because I know some they are actually guys. Like I've never
Yeah,
seen a girl in your team, so it's okay to say
no,
guys. I'm just kidding.
it's not true. Yeah, actually, we have as well a girl in our team.
You have a
So
girl. I have not. Okay,
yeah.
I've never met your colleague. Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. So and these so-called hybrid QA engineers, they sometimes they can do some manual tester work, and sometimes they just write and test automation scripts. They just build this regression test pack. So if QA team needs to execute this regression test, of course they can go to GitHub to execute them. But after test run, you need to analyze them. So in this moment, our hybrid QA engineers also could help. They know how to analyze reports, know the common common things, common issues that might be in your test, and of course they know the product because they worked before as a manual testers, so they know when this problem is actually related to the game itself. So yeah, we as a core team, we don't, like most of the time, we don't analyze reports. These jobs do for us our hybrid engineers.
Okay. I like the idea of hybrid engineer. It's kind of like, they're going to be cyborgs, but they're not yet there, like they're in the
Yeah.
beginning.
I'm I'm curious about thinking about your setup with the QA team. Do you have an external QA team as well, or are all of your QA engineers internal, like dev QA type of roles? How are you set up?
No, we have our QA department. It's like internal. We don't have any external QA engineers. So yeah, all of this testing thing is doing by automation and our manual testers.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Um, can you share a bit of things that because you already gave some ideas on things that are not suitable for automation in games, but can you share some of the things that you failed when you tried to automate, like things that you tried to automate, but that the tooling wasn't there, or the game didn't have the testability built in, or things like, do you have any, because I like a lot of talking about failures, because there's a lot to learn from that.
Yeah.
And do you have any of the stories that you want to share with us?
So of
You
course.
can, I mean, so
Mhm.
yeah, you can say AltTester didn't work the way we wanted to, so I'm not going to be offended. So you can,
Well, yeah, I'm not going to tell that AltTester covered everything that we wanted to,
because
but
it doesn't.
yeah, of course, and it shouldn't, I believe so. So it's like the same thing with Selenium, for instance. And so
Yeah.
you can't just simply cover everything with Selenium, because Selenium is not a testing framework. Yeah, it's needed to manage to control your browser, but you can't just cover all your testing needs with only Selenium. So the same thing work for our AltTester, for instance. And before AltTester, of course, we tried as everything. We tried the classic way, using Appium, and I believe you not know what happened next, because Appium simply cannot see the hierarchy of elements for the Unity games. It can't um, use these accessibility layers for native UI frameworks, because the game isn't built with native UI frameworks. So that's why Appium and most of the, I can't even say the all traditional tools, just simply won't work with Unity or any other game itself. So after that, we try to find something new, something that will we'll have some this hybrid approach. So we have like two type of tools in the market. Yeah, it's internal tools for some white box testing. For instance, for Unity, it's Unity Test Framework, and external tools like Appium that handle games like external applications. And we try to find anything that not an external tools, because they simply don't work, and that's not internal tool as well, because for this you need your testers, you need your automation team to know at least Unity, to know how the game inside is built, and it's a lot of work. So and after that, we found the AltTester, and I believe it's kind of unique tool. I'm not sure that for now there's even some similar tool in the market. So this hybrid approach that you use these SDK that you need to integrate and use some external commands like Selenium. It's I think it gives us the results that we wanted to have. So
Hmm.
it was simple to use for the guys with a little automation experience, and you don't need to work inside of your game client. So yeah, for us it was a game changer, I would say.
Did you encounter any issues in understanding how Unity, or because you're using Unity as your game engine,
Yeah.
did you have any challenges? Because there are some things that are very specific into games and how they're actually executed. Uh, any issues with that?
Well, I believe we have and sometimes we have now some issues with the build process of the game, because
Mm.
it's something that any automation tester or manual tester just can't handle with the level of knowledge it has for the moment. So mainly these kind of tasks, these kind of issues, will ask developers team to help us with. So when you need to handle something related to the Unity itself, to the game engine, to the builds process, yeah, we just ask our developers to help us with, because it's I
Oh,
believe
that's
it's
cool. So
yeah,
that's really nice. So there's a
it's
strong.
nice that you can share this
Yeah.
job between, yeah. So you don't need to be like a Swiss knife. You don't need to do everything in your team. If you have someone who knows better and can do it faster to help you, so why not to ask? So yeah, I believe the first integrations of the AltTester inside our apps was made by the developers, and after that, when we already built some pipelines on that, some CI/CD process after that, so it's all for automation team.
Okay. Yeah. And d- um, you mentioned a bit that animations, they're quite hard to automate. Do you have any experience with trying to do test automation for animations? Have you tried anything with sound? Like we've been struggling. We're using what we can say. We use browser stack for internally, but also for some of the projects that we do, and we try to use their own like sound recording, but
Mhm.
that's not very successful. Did you have any success with doing sound automation or animations? How did that work for you?
So about sounds, we didn't try it yet, but I believe this is the future of our test automation. And for animations, yeah, we tried to do some tests. Of course, as I mentioned, they can't just replace the manual tester eye, because you can see as a manual tester how smooth this animation is, and that it goes exactly from the one point to another one. But sometimes we have scenarios that cover animation partly. For instance, um, in one of our game in Wudok, when you move like a wood block into the game field, you have some apples that need to drop from the tree. So we can find this element, the apple, in AltTester, and we can check that the apple, for instance, changing its location. We can check that it's missing after the test. So something like that. It's not, it can't cover everything, but it's
Oh,
something.
I like
So
it.
yeah,
I call this partial oracles, and I like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
automation that is using partial oracles. I think this is a term. I don't know if Cam Kainer or Doug Hoffman came up with the idea of partial oracles. I don't remember that, but I like the idea of doing automation and partially checking things and say, hey, it's good enough for now. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And anyhow, it's much better than if I had to do it manually 20 times a day. So I like this example. I think it's a great example.
hmm And also for animation, we found really helpful that you can use an alt tester. You can slow down your game. So
Oh,
sometimes, yeah, animations are really fast, and you
When
can
I
just
saw that feature, I was
Mhm.
like, "This is a cool feature." That
Yeah,
automatic.
indeed.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a nice one.
It also
Yeah,
helps the other way when you need to speed things up because you
the
want
speed.
to
Yeah,
execute the test faster. Yeah, yeah. It's
yeah. It
just
would
as
be nice
useful
to have that.
sometimes.
To have that, in traditional software, but you don't have that. Like your
Yeah,
own
yeah.
test mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Um, do you have any issues with ads? Because you're doing hyper casual games, so I
Yeah.
guess you have many ads in your games. How do you handle that?
Well, to be honest, for us, it wasn't like really complicated because we have our we have some server components in our apps. So we receive some configurations from the remote server, and for us, we just, as a part of our setup, as part of preconditions, we just simply turn off all the ads. So yeah, it's
Oh, so you can do that. That's cool. So you test
yeah,
without the ads in. Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
that's one
yeah.
approach. Yeah.
So I realize that this is for some teams, maybe it's not an option, but it should be, because your development teams should help you to make your builds testable. Because if they aren't, sometimes it might be a problem, because as far as we experience, sometimes AltTester has a server reconnection when you see the full screen,
Yeah.
yeah, ads. So for us, it was really helpful to like turn it off and all.
Yeah, I think this is one of the conversations that we have very often with our clients about ads. And even though, I mean, I think most games have the option to turn them off for testing purposes, we have quite a few clients that would really like to test that part as well. The fact that if you watch an ad, you get your reward, that part of the game is working. Also, mainly because there are a lot of issues with all the different third party ads that you get that you are not in control of. So it would be an excellent test case to cover with automation if you could have something that's doing that every day and also doing the monitoring for you. But it's one of the most complicated parts to
Yeah,
get
indeed.
right. So yeah, it's I think also by design. I mean, the all the ads channels are trying to change the setup and the
Yes.
layout of it specifically,
So
to
it's not
prevent
easy to
such
click on
actions.
close.
Yes. So it's by design supposed to be difficult. So that's one of our most common failures in a way, that we cannot help with this type of testing, and we always recommend just test without the ads. That's that's the best.
Yeah.
Just like you said. Yeah, yeah.
Well, as far as I know, some ads providers, they have like some test ads that is can be simply closed with the help of Appium. It's like really simple ads that won't that shouldn't like break your AltTester connection. But for us, we just realized that this the effort to create such kind of scenario, it doesn't. For us, it just doesn't make sense to try
Yeah,
so
it
much
doesn't
time to
bring the
cover one or two
value.
scenarios. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have the ROI. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah. Do you use your local devices, or do you use any like cloud device providers to run your tests? Do you
Mhm.
have any experience with that? Maybe that's something you can share with.
Yeah, so for us, we, as I mentioned before, we started with only two devices. It was one Android and one iOS. So it was like real devices. We tried like emulators, but they are so slow, even on the some Mac Minis. So I can't even imagine how slow they are on the machines like with the uh, on much slower machines. So And yeah, for us, we decided to cover everything on the real devices. We tried to compare the prices, the cost of the some cloud providers like Browser Stack, and
Hmm.
for instance, our in-house farm solution. And it's of course it also obvious that it's cheaper to build some things on your own. So if you want to like try one or two devices, it's fine to use browser stack or something. But for us, when we wanted to like expand to use more devices to become more scalable, it doesn't make sense to spend so much money on the threads that you need to use for each device too. So
Mhm.
yeah, so currently we have about 20
Yeah.
devices. It's about 10 Android and 10 iOS devices. Mm, I believe we don't have we have of course we have issues with devices, but it's kind of classic. So it's for instance some native pop-ups with updates. It's
Yeah.
your iOS now want to become iOS 18.1, something like that, and the same for Android. Some permissions, all of the things, but I believe at this moment our solution is like pretty stable. We didn't make a lot to avoid all of the things. You just need to be like consistent in this. So you sometimes some people struggling with this ADB pop-up that
Mm.
ask all of the time, yeah, to reconnect. You just need to press this checkbox to remember this host machine, and it's everything. So you just need to be like precise in such small things. And I believe that even in-house solution cannot be a pain in the ass. So
Yeah. Do you have like a checklist? We're gonna add another device, like another Android device. This is what you need to do to make sure that it's not gonna fail for, I don't know, the reasons that you said. Do you have a checklist internally that you're going through when you add a new device to your internal cloud? I'm gonna call it internal cloud. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. I don't know how you want to call it.
Yeah, so of course we have like kind of checklist for now, but we started as we started we didn't, and after like fifth or sixth device we was like, oh okay, we need to do something with that. We need to write this checklist because it's a pain. And yeah, we tried to also to create the kind of documentation for our test automation purposes in case that you need to set up new host machine or new build machine or new device. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. We we used to have one of the projects that we worked on years ago was a test runner for mobile test automation, which was pretty cool. But then we it was too complicated for us to manage, so we that's postponed. We do have some devices that are internally, but we also like one of the reasons why I like cloud device providers is you need some weird device that you can only find in Asia.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy that, just for that. If you have a stable, 20 devices that are used by, like top 20 devices in your analytics, I think having your own, setup in your local network, it totally makes sense. Uh, but yeah, if you need the big variety of devices, then I think the cloud devices give you this option for
Of
a
course.
price. I agree. There is a cost that needs to be taken into account. Yeah. I wanna take a question. One second. I wanna add this question, which is not in the plan of this discussion. Yeah, but I think it's a good question, and it's related to the topic that we're talking. It comes from Alex. I'm not gonna pronounce your family name, Alex, because I'm sure I'm gonna mispronounce it. So I'm just gonna say Alex. Uh, how did you
That you
select
know
the
how to pronounce.
Alex? I know how to pronounce. That's something easy for me. Yeah. Um, Yeah. So, question to Kirill: how did you select the device models to use for testing? What parameters were considered?
hmm It's actually a good one. So, in some when you took some QA courses, of course, and if they have some block of mobile testing, there is always a question how to select devices for testing of any new product. And when we talk like generally, there are a lot of different factors. But when you ask about the test automation specifically, we have a some life hack. Yeah, you just go to your product team and ask how. Which devices mostly used by our users. So of course, in big companies, the product teams, the analytics teams, they collect some analytic on which devices, on which platforms, on which operational systems your users like place the most. So you can create your device park based on this information. So of course, if you have the information that like 90% of your users play on some iPhone 14, of course you will buy this iPhone for your device farm. So basically it. So we didn't like make the some complex decision based on some
Mm.
factors in our automation team. We just asked. So as we mentioned before, you just need to find the right people to ask some
To
questions.
talk to, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's a good point. If you have a live game, you can use that information. I think what's tricky is what if you work on something that's not released yet? How
Yeah.
do you, 'cause I think that's a tricky question. Like which devices will you choose for automation and how you can decide that?
Mm, I would say that you need to like try to range these devices. So, for instance, you have like low-end device like Samsung A12, for instance. You have some middle-end device and some high-end device. And I would say it's a good start to have at least one mid device for Android and one mid for iOS at the start. And after that, you can like when you want to make your farm scalable, but you want to expand your farm, you just buy two more devices with some different range. And after that, when you covered already this the things, you can already think about some different operational system versions on some different device providers, etc. But for games, it's kind of important, especially for hyper casual games, to work great on the low end, on mid end device, because of course you can run any game in the last iPhone and it will work great. It's obvious. But when we talk about some less powered devices, then yeah, it's a question.
Yeah, I like this idea of having low end device for test automation. M- I think the question is if it fails on the low end device but not on a mid end device, is that a fixable bug or you're going to live with this? That's
Yeah.
that's a tricky question to have. And I think for me the answer is if you have analytics, you can go and say how many people are using the low end device. And if it's a big amount, then you're gonna do something. Are we losing money for that? Yes or no? But if it's something that again it's not released and you don't have this information, I think it's always a tricky question. And maybe both of you, I think this is a question for everybody that's live. I have never seen like device analytics per game genre. Do you know if there is anything like you're going to release an RPG on mobile? I'm exaggerating. Do we know what kind of devices most people will be using? Is there any kind of analytics available on the internet that you can use to take a decision when the game is under development? Because I've never seen that. Yeah, if there's something like that, I think that would be really useful, like uh, information for the other game developers.
I don't know of any public information like that. at least. But if you talk to different companies that make different types of mobile games, you can get that information. Like, for example, yeah, if you target very small kids, then you have a specific range of devices. Or if you target, if it's a really hyper casual game that's targeted at an older audience, then again you will have maybe this mid-level devices and also bigger screens. And so there's some guidelines that you can use just also intuitively, but I at least don't know of any public information that would categorize it by type of mobile game.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, Alex, if you want to follow up on this, you can. I think you can just answer on the like. You can continue to write on the LinkedIn comments, and we're gonna see your comments later on. I'm gonna park this for now, and um, I want to go back on the tooling part. So I'm an engineer, so my brain is around tooling. So I know you're using Appium. I know you're using AltTester. I'm just curious to know what other tools. And when I mean tools, I mean everything, that's related to setting things up, uh, building, reporting, investigating. Like how what's your because for me a framework is more than just your page object model or whatever you're having. It's
Yeah.
it's everything that allows you to have uh, a successful automation project, which is I need to debug this. How do I debug this? The logging part, I don't know, screenshots, whatever, screen recording, whatever you're doing. So can you share a bit of your yeah tooling? I'm going to call them tooling that
Yeah, it's cool.
you
Of course. So maybe the first thing that come into my mind is we use some mock server. We use VireMock in order to change some responses from our server. I already mentioned that we have some server which sends some configuration to our games, to our device. And sometime we need to change something in this configuration. So we use the classic Java solution is VireMock. As per login, as per reporting, we use also really classic solution. It's Allure reporting, which we hosted before in some GitHub pages, and after that just switched to some centralized storing with S3 for AWS. And for login, we collect as much logs as possible. So we collect, of course, logs for Appium. We collect logs for the device itself. We collect what else? Of course, screenshots on failures, something like that. We also tried to use Appium screen recording feature to record the video of the test process, but it makes your game so slow. So yeah, we sometimes we try to use it when you need to debug some complex scenario and you're not in the office to actually see the device, but it's not the thing that you will. Just for me, yeah, it's not the thing that you will use all of the time. I think basically this is basically it. So yeah, you have logs, you have screenshots, you have of course logs for this VireMock when you can check whether you received the correct response on your device with the expected configuration, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's interesting. You mentioned the mock server. I like that a lot. Does your framework or the automation the automation scripts that are developed on top of your framework, do they use any direct calls to your backend, like API calls, to change stuff that you can then afterwards verify on the front end, which is something
Mhm.
that on a what traditional software, this is something that's quite common. But do you have that set up on gaming as well?
I can't say whether we used some things like that. So when we start our game, we just receive this configuration. We work with that, and we, as the test automation, we don't change some things on backend because you need to like restart your game, and it's kind of tricky moment, because when you restart your game, like from the you need to close it, you need to start it again, some bad things might happen. So we just try to avoid this kind of scenario when you need to restart something, when you need to drop some connection, all of the things, because I can't say that it's fragile, but this risk, it's not worth it. Just so yeah. So I think the main things what we use with the backhand, it's just replacing some of these responses with wiremog, but not more than that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there, in terms of, if one of the things that we keep hearing when we talk to different gaming studios is that it's not easy to start doing automation. Maybe you have other, friends, colleagues working in gaming, and sometimes it's like, the the time it takes from the idea that we should be doing automation to the first script that is, implemented in 6 to 12 months. So, do you? I'm just curious. Can you share any, like suggestions with people to help them to get started faster? Like, is there something that, a QA engineer or a QA automation engineer or somebody that wants to start doing automation for games, if they want to start like, convince somebody to start faster, is there something you can, share as a tip what they
Mhm.
can do?
Well, I can advise that you first thing is that you need to understand that you don't need to actually build the whole thing from day one. So I also used to think that we needed to full featured framework right out of the gate, but honestly, it works much better when you just build something step by step. So first, make sure that you can get this testable build when we talk about automating game. Yeah, it might be a tricky question, because I mentioned before that we needed to the development team help to start with that. So after that, just write the very first basic test. So got it working great. Now plug it into some simple CI scenario, CI pipeline that you can like press the button. This build will be downloaded and this test will be executed. And after that, just try to add more and more and more features to your framework, more tests. So after these three simple steps, you already can have some profits with the test automation, because sometimes some teams they don't actually need automation, because automation is the things that needed to be supported all the time, that needed to have some consistency in work, that sometimes you need to have like proper scenarios to automate, because if your game's like changing every day and you don't have some stable, then you maybe automation is not your thing. Maybe you need to try some another way to set up your QA processes. And if your game is going to be like retired in 6 months, maybe automation as well is not your thing, because the profit of the automations comes like later. So first you need to of course put some effort in it, and after some time you only will receive the profit.
I like this idea of, we don't need to think of automation on all projects. I mean, there are things that you can do to make your life easier, even if on short-term projects, but then your automation should be, something that's, like a bare bone, something that's very, like, have your tutorial done, we're good. Or,
Yeah,
do a
yeah,
small,
yeah.
which is automation, like, deploy, make a build, install it on Android or an iOS device, whatever your platform is. Start it. Did it start? Yeah, okay, we're good. So that's for me. That's automation. But then if it changes often, or if it's, it doesn't have a long time to, get back on the investment on automation, or you don't have, many releases, or, like, when I'm talking about releases, I'm also talking about internal releases. Like, if you don't
Yeah.
have a development cycle that goes often. Then yeah, it kind of maybe it doesn't make sense to do any like big things, but just think of things that bring value in your context, and use that information to decide what to automate. Okay, I think those are very good points. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I asked questions for about 15 minutes. So, Aru, yeah, do you have any questions that you want to ask Kyril, or Kyril, do you have any questions you want to ask us? Because we've been shooting questions towards you. So now your time to if you have anything that you want to ask, or I think it's good to go through that. You don't have
Maybe.
to. I mean, if
Mhm.
you don't, if you have, that would be nice. But if you don't want, I mean, you don't have to.
For me, I think I have a question. If you would love to share some plans of the AltTester team on the future, so what we need to expect from AltTester?
Oh, this is a very tricky question.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we do have things in pipeline that we work on. Um, some of the things we can discuss about, some of the things are not really. We're not there yet to talk
Mhm.
about them publicly. Um, I think one of the main things that we work on right now is Quest support. So adding support for VR devices. Uh, we've seen more and more clients outside of the gaming uh, area, mostly into e-learning or education spectrum, that are using VR for different things, and they can do stuff on PC right now with AltTester. But if they want to have a test running on a real device, uh, yeah, they need support for that. And we're working on ads. We decided to start to work on Meta devices, and we're gonna hopefully soon have a beta, like a public beta, where people can try things out, and then continue to add on that. One of the things that we want to work on is uh, make the Unreal support on the same level as the Unity support. Um, Mostly in terms of the how the integration with the AltTester desktop, the inspector recording part. There are things that are a few things that are missing, and we want to catch up on that. And I think something that we really want to do is make the recorder more useful. Like, we got really good feedback from different users on how we can make it better, and we're going to focus on that as well. Like, maybe change the type of selectors that
Mhm.
you can use when you record, or provide your framework and use the stuff that you have within your framework to generate the code that you know you provide you that you record when you use the AltTester desktop. So there are things that around this spectrum that we certainly wanna we're working on, but they're gonna come out, yes, maybe slower this year or the beginning of next year. And this is stuff that we can talk about. It's been a very
We
dynamic year. So
one thing
go ahead.
that yeah, one thing that we are also working, not necessarily from a development point of view, is to try to finally sort out the support for consoles. This is maybe not relevant for the for the topic of mobile games, but
Oh,
yes,
yes.
we do want to. I mean, the solution should be working on any of the consoles, but we are working with the two main console consoles to get access to their dev kits, basically, and start testing on consoles. That's a yeah.
Yeah, it's been a very long process, like years, literally. This year we were lucky to talk to a very friendly person from Microsoft, from the PlayStation team, and things moved fast, like, which is really nice.
From the
Uh,
Xbox team, you said PlayStation.
Oh, sorry, PlayStation. Yeah, Xbox and PlayStation is already in the process. Like PlayStation replied earlier this year, so we have somebody that we can talk to. So that's nice. Nintendo, we already support Nintendo. I think we should look into the Nintendo Switch 2 and see
Mhm.
if there's something we need to do to update the SDK for the Nintendo Switch 2. So yeah, there are many things on our plate. We're a small team, so we're not a very big team in terms of development. So we need to prioritize things. Uh, is there something you would like us to work on? Like, is there something that you think, oh, this would be really cool if you had this?
Well, there are some things, but I'm not sure that these things should be like implemented with the AltTester team. So, for instance, our team is implementing some performance testing solution right now. So, and we use some Appium power to like get some parameters. We use some parameters from some external dependencies that we also integrate in our application. So sometimes we think that, oh, it would be nice to have these things in AltTester. But of course, I realize, as we mentioned at the start of our conversation, that AltTester can't be just everything. You can't have all of the features that you wanted to have, because some guys, they just don't need this. Some guys just want to like simply test this gameplay, and it would be just the bunch of methods, bunch of functionality that just will make some impact on your application with size. Yeah, so for me, I believe that AltTester currently is AltTester for Unity is packed with all things, all methods that you might need to start your test automation, to make it successful, to make it profitable in your project, and to proceed with it with more and more projects.
Yeah, like we had a discussion internally about adding performance data to alt
Or the
tester.
possibility of collecting performance data,
Yeah,
yeah,
the possibility of collecting
optionally, I
performance
guess.
data, and we do have, like, we had some internal discussions about that, and we have some ideas on how we could do that, but it's not something that we are like actively working on it. It's more of a idea level. uh,
Yeah,
and the main reason is exactly that what you said. Like, there are tools that you can use to achieve that. Yeah, it's trickier because it's not all in one place. But yeah, you and also it's always the question of, do you measure performance from the application that you're measuring performance from? Does it make sense? So it's like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a tooling philosophy problem that you need to address. Like, are we gonna affect the game because we're measuring performance from within the game, and then we're gonna say, hey, your game is not working well? And that's also something tricky to, and you need to take that into account. If it doesn't have, like, if you don't find any issues, then it's fine. So if no issues are there, then everything is fine. So but if you find issues, is it because you did this from within your game, or do you want to do it from outside? How do you do that? So it's I think it's at the beginning it seemed to be easy for us to add something, but then if you keep thinking of it, you have tools to do stuff, and then yeah,
I think
we
the different tools will also give us some flexibility. For instance, you have a bunch of metrics in the AltTester itself, and after that, you just realize, oh, I need one more, and you just need to find just two to add only one metric. So yeah, sometimes it just makes sense to find the right tool for the right job.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I think to your point of, having different tools that work alongside AltTester, I think what we can do better, and it's something that we really want to focus in the very near future, is to have better examples. We often use within our projects different combinations of tools that work very well. Like you said, for example, a lot of people ask us about reporting tools. do we have something built into AltTester? And the answer is, well, when you have something like Allure, why would we build something in? It's so great already, but I think we can be a lot better about providing good examples of how to integrate with different tools. And also, we need to work on better documentation and guides, and getting started, and all that part of building a product is just as important, and it takes time and effort. So it's definitely something that we are focusing on.
It's really nice to hear, because this example we really often try to look some things into AltTester documentation, because sometimes you have these methods within alt driver, and you just don't know what it's doing. You just go to documentation searching for it. So it's, of course, the documentation should be the first entry to the product itself, and it should be loud and clear what things do some job.
So just because Alex had a question on LinkedIn, and we have this in our backlog, and I think it's a great idea. Have a prompt, or kind of where you can test stuff from the AltTester desktop. But I would love to see that in the AltTester desktop as a feature. So most probably we're going to add that, but it's going to take some time before you're going to see it live. So, but it's something that we have been thinking about, and we've been talking about it. Yeah, I also like it as a feature. So I'm a big supporter of this feature. Yeah. Okay.
Same here. I would like to have that as well.
Yeah, it's just a matter of priorities. So
Yes.
Like always.
Yeah, like always. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Good. So I think this was a very, very good discussion. Thank you very much, Kyril, for joining. Rue, the same. Always a pleasure. And hopefully we're going to be able to do this as often as possible, because I want to hear stories, failures and success stories from people working in the gaming area with different tools. Because I think it's a good time, and we see more and more interest from gaming studios that want to start doing automation. And I think this will help others more confident when they want to do that within their gaming studio. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for sharing this, all the information and the examples that you provided. So I think that was very, very useful. I think we're good. Is there anything else that we need to address? If not, I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you everybody that joined the live stream and the comments. And let's keep in touch. I'm gonna end the stream now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.